All signs point to this. With the 2025 draft coming up, there have been many predictions around who the Buffalo Bills will select to join their team. Players at the center of these predictions include University of Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III and University of Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. My name is Maeve Miler, and I'm a part of the Bills Digest team, so please subscribe to the Bills Digest YouTube channel for all the latest updates during this offseason. First, I want to talk a little bit about wide receiver Luther Burden III. He was originally a 5-star and joined University of Missouri in 2022, and he's just one of the most versatile, quick players in college right now. He is not only a wide receiver, but he takes snaps as a running back and is the punt returner during some plays. A lot of people have been saying that the Bills don't need to select an offensive player this early on. They did just pick up free agent and former Charger Josh Palmer and extended Khalil Shakir's contract into 2029. So obviously wide receiver is not the most important position they need right now, but I honestly don't think it hurts to add a player this young and fresh and at the peak of his career to the team. The offense is very, very strong, but Josh Allen can connect with so many different people, and I think this could be a very good duo. His stats have been very impressive over the years. In 2022, he was only a freshman, so he put up 376 yards and 6 touchdowns, and these numbers increased exponentially in 2023. He had 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns, and then these numbers did take a little bit of a drop. He had a shoulder injury, so he had a little bit less yards and touchdowns, but these receiving yards are supplemented by rushing yards. His freshman year, he had was more of a running back type. He had 88 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, and has put up good numbers and is very just versatile in that way. And he's also one of the only players in University of Missouri history to have a receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown, and punt return touchdown in 1 year. So, like a lot of people are saying that the Bills should push for getting a defensive player early on, but different analysts have been talking about selecting Burden, including Bleacher Report writer Gary Davenport. He said the Buffalo Bills made it within a game of the Super Bowl last year with a less than imposing cadre of wide receivers. Adding a player as explosive as Burden could make an already dangerous offense that much more lethal. And beginning his career catching passes from Josh Allen isn't a bad way for the youngster to kick things off. So it'll be interesting to see what the Bills do. I think it'd be awesome to select a wide receiver that can maybe be at the peak of his career and become more of a franchise player, because I feel like with the Bills, they haven't really had a wide receiver like that. Stephon Diggs maybe had thought that he was going to be the franchise wide receiver and was definitely a star and played very well for the Bills, but he was only traded after a couple of years. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. There have been concerns, like I said, about the Bills selecting an offensive player that early, and he also is only 5'11", so there's been worry about him going up against bigger and taller, stronger cornerbacks and safeties. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what the Bills do with the 30th overall pick, and the public has been kind of leaning more towards the Bills selecting a defensive player like Kenneth Grant, which is what I'm going to talk about next. So he is out of the University of Michigan and is just a huge, dominant, dynamic player. At University of Michigan, he was very impressive. During his sophomore year, he helped the Wolverines win the national championship. And during that season, he had 29 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and a fumble recovery. These numbers increased in 2024, where he had 32 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and set the Michigan record for most career pass breaks by a defensive lineman. And obviously his size is very impressive at 330 pounds. But what makes him even better is his speed and agility at that size. Notably, there was a play against Penn State where the running back broke free and broke the tackles, and it looks like he could maybe score, but Grant actually ended up being the one to chase him down and make the tackle. And the reactions from this were just insane. People were like in shock that a player of this size and this position was able to do that. And head coach Jim Harbaugh even said, and I quote, maybe one of the best plays ever, which is very high praise coming from him, who has seen a lot of good football over the years. And I just think that getting a defensive tackle position would be more beneficial than a wide receiver position. People were saying that the combo of him and Ed Oliver would just be insane. And I've seen interviews where he's been talking about like being paired up with another defensive tackle. And he just was very unselfish and not worried about the stats. And he knows that it's more of a team effort. So I feel like his energy is very good. And he just seems very coachable and unselfish, which are very good traits that I feel like McDermott very much values. And this has come at a time where the Bills, two of their free agents, Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, We were suspended for the first 6 games of the season for PED violations, which is very serious and definitely is negative stain on the Bills for the upcoming season. So this is a critical position that they do need to fill, and I think that Grant could definitely help this. Going off of that, the Bills were 27th overall in rushing yards allowed per attempt. And when Grant was on the Wolverines, they were fourth for that stat, and he definitely was a huge factor in that. Obviously, there are 2 different leagues and 2 different levels of play, but I think that Grant could really help get these numbers down for the Bills. He also, being on the University of Michigan and playing the national championship, winning it, he's gone against really strong competition. And people always say, like, oh, well, college doesn't always transfer over to the NFL. And we have seen players like that not being nearly as successful as they were in college. But he has gone against that high levels of play. He's seen serious competition and just dominated regardless. So I think that'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. I think I fully support this pick happening, but a lot of people were saying that they don't even know if Grant will make it to the 30th pick overall, that he might be selected earlier. But it's nice to see that the public does support them selecting Grant. This is from Buffalo Sports Talk, and they've been posting a lot about this. It says day 5 of manifesting Kenneth Grant to the Bills in the first round of the NFL draft, and they've been posting every day about this, how badly they think Grant should be on the team. So I think the Bills are going to try for this, and they even said, please let this man and Ed eat, just saying that him and Ed Oliver would be such a good duo together. And I think it'd be really cool to see that defensive line being as strong as they possibly can. And I did say that they do have the 30th pick overall, but Brandon Beane has been known to go forward to the draft order on the day of. He's done this with Dalton Kincaid. He went from the 27th to the 25th spot to select him. He did this with Elam in the following year. So I just think that we won't really know till the day of. But Beane has been talking about the different defensive tackles, what he wants to see in them. He said you want different pieces for different games. You don't want to always just be able to have run stuffers and nobody can get to the quarterback, but you can't just have a slew of guys that can stop the run when it's December, it's cold, it's snowing, and guys are just going to line up in the backfield. So I think he definitely knows that defensive tackle is a position that the Bills do want. He was looking at Grant during the combine, and I think Grant does fulfill a lot of those qualities he was talking about with being so dynamic and versatile. And I just think this is a very strong move for the Bills. And then just for the draft overall, say they have the 30th pick, 56th, 62nd, and so on and so forth. So they first round, a couple second round, but they notably don't have any third round picks. And I definitely think the Bills, even though I think selecting Burden would not be a bad thing, I think the Bills should focus on defensive positions, notably on the defensive line and possibly in cornerback or safety. There has been a lot of talks that if they don't get Grant, that maybe they'd lean towards a cornerback, because that was kind of an area of struggle we saw last year, and there could definitely be some more improvement on that. So I think it will be interesting to see what happens in this upcoming draft. I fully support them drafting Grant. I just hope that they'll be able to select him in time, and if not, maybe they'll be able to select a cornerback or safety. But obviously, we'll have to see what Beane decides, and in the meantime, we'll just have to keep looking at the predictions. Go Bills, and thanks for watching.